People do not betray you because they are evil. They betray you because at the moment of decision, it benefits them more than loyalty does. This is the part you resist, because it removes the comfort of believing that betrayal is rare or exceptional. You have been taught to see loyalty as something fixed, as if it were embedded in human nature. It is not. Loyalty is a transaction, fragile, conditional, and discarded the moment the terms no longer serve. A friend today becomes a stranger tomorrow, not through misfortune, but through calculation. This is the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Men and women do not act in accordance with promises. They act in accordance with advantage. They stand beside you, agree with you, align with you, until alignment becomes costly. Then they withdraw, or worse, they remain, maintaining the appearance of loyalty while quietly repositioning against you. You fear enemies. That is your first mistake. An enemy declares intention and reveals position without disguise. Their opposition is clear, and once understood, it becomes predictable, and therefore useful. But an ally operates differently. An ally depends on perception. They demand your trust while preserving their ability to withdraw it. They conceal calculation behind familiarity. This is why they are more dangerous. You have been conditioned to value comfort over clarity, to prefer the illusion of loyalty over the discipline of observation. That weakness will cost you. It blinds you at the moment when awareness is most required. You trust where you should evaluate. You assume where you should question. And in doing so, you give others access to your position without ever understanding their incentives. This is why the 1% exists. Not to comfort you and not to inspire you, but to remove the illusions you have been taught to rely on. Here, human behavior is not softened or excused. It is examined without distortion, driven by desire, fear, and self-interest. Power is not treated as an ideal, but a mechanism. Influence is not admired, but dissected. Strategy is not optional, it is survival. If you remain, you will begin to see what others refuse to acknowledge. You will recognize false loyalty before it exposes itself. You will think in terms of position, leverage, and consequence rather than emotion. You will learn to convert disadvantage into control and uncertainty into precision. And you will operate differently from the masses who cling to belief while you observe reality. But understand this clearly: what follows will not make you comfortable, it will make you aware. And awareness carries a cost most people are unwilling to pay. So the question is not whether this is true, the question is whether you are willing to see it. You have already been told the lie, not once, but repeatedly, until it became something you no longer question. You were taught that loyalty is stable, that friendship is protection, and that those closest to you are the least likely to harm you. These ideas were not given to you as opinions, they were presented as truths. But they are only stable in conditions where nothing is at risk. The moment pressure is introduced, they begin to collapse. Look at your life with precision, not sentiment. Ignore what people say and observe what they do when circumstances change. when there is competition, when there is scarcity, when there is an opportunity that demands a choice between their own advancement and your position, that is where reality reveals itself. Words dissolve under pressure, behavior does not. What people do when it becomes inconvenient to remain loyal is the only measure that matters. Friends remain loyal only as long as loyalty serves them. Remove the benefit and the loyalty fades with it. Add pressure, and you will begin to see the calculation beneath what you once believed was genuine. This is where most people hesitate. They want to believe betrayal is rare, an anomaly, an act of character failure. It is not. Betrayal is not an exception to human behavior. It is a predictable outcome when incentives change. And yet you continue to trust as though people are bound by something deeper than advantage. You believe in intention over outcome, in words over incentives. But people are governed not by what they say, they are governed by what they gain. This is the error that leaves you exposed. You assume stability where there is only temporary alignment. An enemy, however, does not operate under this illusion. An enemy does not pretend loyalty, does not mask intention, does not ask for your trust. Their position is declared through opposition. They are consistent because they have nothing to hide. You may not like their stance, but you understand it, and that understanding gives you something rare. Clarity. A friend is more complex. A friend must maintain appearance while managing their own interests. They must seem aligned while continuously evaluating whether that alignment still benefits them. The moment those two forces, appearance and intention, separate, you will not see it immediately. And that delay is where damage occurs. Betrayal is not sudden, it is simply revealed late. So you must ask a question most avoid. Who in your life is loyal because they have chosen you, and who is loyal because for now it costs them nothing to remain so? This distinction is uncomfortable because it forces you to reconsider relationships you have labeled as secure. But without asking it, you remain blind. Now understand the mechanism behind this behavior, not through emotion, but through structure. Every decision a person makes is driven by self-interest. Not morality, not loyalty, not principle. These are explanations people give after the decision has already been made. The true cause is always advantage. People speak in the language of values, but act in the logic of outcomes. They promise consistency, but adapt to changing conditions. They claim loyalty, but measure cost. And because loyalty, as you understand it, depends on emotion, it is inherently unstable. Emotion weakens under fear, distorts under envy, and disappears under pressure. The moment someone identifies a better outcome that excludes you, loyalty becomes a liability, and liabilities are removed. This is not cruelty, it is efficiency. It is the removal of anything that interferes with advantage. And once you understand this, you stop taking betrayal personally. You begin to see it as a decision, not a moral failure. Now return to the enemy. The enemy requires no emotional maintenance. They do not pretend alignment. Their objective is simple and consistent: opposition. Because of this, they become predictable. And predictability is one of the most valuable forms of control you can have over another person. You can study an enemy. You can map their behavior, anticipate their moves, and prepare for their actions. Their hostility exposes their priorities. It shows you what they fear, what they value, and where they will act. But a friend conceals these things to preserve the relationship. And so, when the moment of decision comes, you are left without clarity. This is why betrayal rarely comes from those you oppose. It comes from those you trust. Because trust removes your defenses. It creates access without scrutiny. It invites proximity without evaluation. And once someone has both your access and your blind trust, the damage they can do is far greater than that of any enemy. Those who understand power do not ignore this reality. They build their lives around it. They do not trust blindly, not out of fear, but out of discipline. They evaluate incentives before granting access. They observe behavior before assigning loyalty. They understand that giving someone proximity to your position without understanding their motives is not an act of strength, it is exposure. A friend who knows your weaknesses, your habits, your patterns, and your vulnerabilities holds more power over you than an enemy who must guess them. And yet, you share this information freely under the assumption that the label friend guarantees safety. It does not. Labels do not protect you, only structure does. Power comes from understanding motives, not believing words. The unskilled ask whether someone is loyal. The skilled ask when it will become advantageous for that person to stop being loyal. That single shift in thinking removes illusion and replaces it with anticipation. Now reconsider the enemy, not as a threat to avoid, but as a source of information. An enemy observes you closely. They react to your moves. They attempt to counter you. In doing so, they reveal what threatens them about you. They expose your strengths through their resistance and your weaknesses through their attacks. They become an unwilling mirror, one that reflects reality without distortion. Because their objective remains consistent, you can use it. You can predict their behavior, position yourself accordingly, and even provoke them when it serves your strategy. An enemy can be managed because they are stable in their opposition. A false ally cannot be managed because they are unstable in their alignment. Consider a situation you may recognize. You begin building something: status, influence, opportunity. At the beginning, the stakes are low, and those around you support you easily. Among them is a friend who has been present from the start. They encourage you, align with you, and move alongside you. At this stage, loyalty appears effortless. But as your position improves, the balance changes. Your growth creates difference, and difference creates comparison. What was once equal becomes unequal, and that inequality introduces tension. Your progress becomes a reflection of their lack of it. Your success becomes something they must now interpret in relation to themselves. This is where loyalty begins to weaken, not through intention, but through shifting conditions. Now introduce an opportunity that benefits them but harms you. Previously, rejecting such an opportunity required no sacrifice. Now it feels like a loss, and so they begin to calculate. In that calculation, you are no longer a friend, you are a variable. If removing you improves their outcome, they will do it, and they will justify it in a way that preserves their self-image. They will not call it betrayal, they will call it necessary, deserved, or inevitable. But the mechanism remains the same, self-interest replacing loyalty. Now compare this to your enemy during the same period. The enemy continues to oppose you openly. Their actions remain consistent. Their incentives are clear. You expect resistance, and so you prepare for it. There is no surprise. And because there is no surprise, there is less damage. The friend, however, changes without declaration. And that change is where the real risk lies. It is not the hostility you see that harms you. It is the shift you failed to detect. From this, a deeper truth emerges. The more you rely on loyalty, the more exposed you become. Because reliance creates dependency, and dependency removes control. If your position depends on someone else choosing you over themselves, then your position is unstable by definition. Those who rise do not build on unstable foundations. They do not depend on friendship for protection. They depend on awareness for preparation. They do not assume loyalty. They account for its absence. And because of this, they are rarely caught off guard. You, however, are conditioned in the opposite direction. You are encouraged to trust deeply, to believe strongly, and to assume consistency. These instincts feel natural, but they make you vulnerable. They cause you to ignore signals, to excuse behavior, and to delay recognition until it is too late. So you replace instinct with discipline. You trust actions, not words, because actions require sacrifice and reveal priorities. You observe patterns, not promises, because consistency under pressure is the only reliable indicator of intent. You maintain emotional distance even with allies, because closeness distorts judgment. You study your enemies because they show you what matters. Their opposition reveals your impact more clearly than any praise. And you never depend on loyalty where self-interest is involved, because you already understand the outcome. Above all, you structure your position so that betrayal becomes costly, because the only reliable way to secure loyalty is not through belief, but through incentive. When someone gains more from staying aligned with you than from turning against you, their loyalty stabilizes, not as a virtue, but as a calculation. This is the only form of loyalty that endures. But even this is not the final layer. Understanding betrayal is only the beginning. Most people stop at recognition. A few move further. They begin to anticipate betrayal, then to influence it, and eventually to use it. Because the highest level of power is not avoiding betrayal. It is ensuring that when it happens, it serves you. Trust is fragile. It does not collapse with noise or warning. It breaks quietly, often at the exact moment you rely on it most, and frequently without consequence for the one who abandons it. You have already seen why. Loyalty is not a foundation. It is a temporary alignment of interests that exists only as long as it remains beneficial. Opposition, however, operates differently. Opposition reveals. It removes ambiguity. It exposes intention without the need for interpretation. Where trust blinds you with assumption, opposition forces you to confront reality. And power, real power, belongs not to those who believe in loyalty or those who fear enemies, but to those who understand the function of both and position themselves with precision. They do not confuse comfort with security or familiarity with alignment. Most people will never reach this level of understanding, not because they lack intelligence, but because they resist its implications. Truth demands distance. It forces them to question relationships they would rather preserve. It strips away the narratives that make their world feel stable. So they choose comfort instead. They choose to believe in loyalty even after it fails them repeatedly. They choose to trust even when that trust removes their ability to see clearly. They choose illusion because reality requires discipline, and discipline is costly. And because of these choices, they become predictable. They defend those who will eventually turn against them. They ignore signals that contradict what they want to believe. They react emotionally in moments that require calculation. This is why they can be controlled, not through force, but through expectation. Now consider where this leaves you. You have seen what most avoid and understood what most distort. You recognize that loyalty is conditional, that betrayal is not rare but inevitable under the right conditions, and that enemies, while dangerous, are often more honest than allies. This awareness changes how you move. You observe more carefully, trust more selectively, and think in terms of outcomes rather than intentions. And once this clarity settles, it does not leave. You cannot return to ignorance. If you remain here, you are not seeking distraction, you are refining perception. This is not designed for everyone. Most will reject it because it demands too much. A few will recognize its value immediately. Decide which position you occupy, because what is offered here is not comfort, it is advantage. And once advantage is understood, it is not easily surrendered. In the end, it is not your enemies who destroy you. It is the trust you placed where it was never deserved.